fastest show in sports.
It is the college football season, so let us begin the season by first hearkening back to 2010. That's right, a long time ago. As we start to think about, here in the college football season, the absolute attachment, the emotional attachment that people have to their sport, and we're going to ask, why? 2010.
University of Florida head football coach Urban Meyer threw Gator fans for a loop yesterday when he announced that he is stepping down as head coach next season. The reason he gave for the move has nothing to do with UF's rocky season. He said it was time to spend more. He wanted to spend more time with his family, rather, noting that he didn't watch either of his daughters compete in a single high school volleyball game. We're meeting with Urban Meyer today to discuss his departure and find out how he's gearing up for his final bowl game. As for what comes after that, Meyer says he has no immediate plans to return to coaching.
What was different about when you came?
Why? That is fairly simple. I think sometimes we make it far too complex. At the end of the day, I'm very convinced that you're going to be judged on how you are as a husband, as a father, not if you know how many bowl games we won.
If you have any friends or family who went to UF or support the Gators football team, then you know how much Urban Meyer means to them. We were in Gainesville last night getting reaction from fans who are taking the news hard.
I was just about as devastated as I could be. I was actually more worried for that than from the final that I had.
After having such good season the past 4 years, have a awful season this season, everyone was disappointed with that, so something had to happen.
Mike, I'm emotionally crushed. That poor young man. I'm as devastated as I could be because a coach left the football program. What is it about these coaches? People like Urban Meyer, I get it. He wins 2 national championships there, and then he says, I have to spend more time being a husband and a father. Well, gee, that didn't stop him when Ohio State came calling with a boatload of money, and Jacksonville came calling with a boatload of money to go ahead and move to the NFL. But he decides to leave after having a bad season, and everybody is so broken up. Mike, Urban Meyer didn't leave because he wanted more time with his family. He left because that program was in shambles. He had a toxic culture there. He had 31 players that were arrested, including Aaron Hernandez at one time. What is it's Mike, it's astounding to me, this emotional rap that people have, and how the fact that he won us a couple of national championships and now he's gone. My life is never going to be the same.
Well, having covered college football a little bit during my career and having enjoyed it from afar for many years, part of it is, if you ever been to any of these small towns that have big time programs, whether it be Ann Arbor or Happy Valley, Penn State, College Station, Texas. That's the only game in town. So what happens, and then from Nick Saban to Urban Meyer, all these guys that go to these towns, even though the university is a huge deal and the big moneymaker, they're mostly. Most of these guys are the highest paid public employees in their states.
In the state, yeah. I mean, past the
in the
governor,
state, right?
Past anybody else,
right? And so all of a sudden, you're not obviously lording over the state because it's got Florida State, Miami, but Jacksonville itself, it's your little fiefdom. And these guys have these fiefdoms all over the country that it's harder to penetrate with big city media, because the only time big city media shows up is when a real controversy happens, or they're doing a real nice long puff piece on a coach that's been there forever. And so what happens is a lot of the stuff gets unnoticed and it goes underground, or you're a student newspaper guy and you can only get so much access before someone buries you. I just think that you can pretty much cultivate the image anywhere you go, except for big cities like New York and other places where it's there's still, you're going to be found out if you're a fraud.
It's not that big a deal. I mean, when I was in Boston, I used to go to the Boston college games, and I was the only guy there. I mean, I was the only the only TV media guy there. And even the SID said to me one time, he said, you're it. The other stations don't even bother to show up. I said, yeah, but I like college football. And it's funny.
Right.
He says, but this is Boston. Nobody gives a damn about college football here because they've got everything else to deal with. They got the Red Sox, the Patriots, the
Yeah.
Bruins, the Celtics, and everything else. They don't care about us.
Well, let's get to the news hook on Urban Meyer. What
The
is
news
there?
hook.
Yeah.
The news hook here is I hear that on November the 22nd, I believe it is, they are going to honor Urban Meyer at the University of Florida for his 2 national championships. And my issue comes in with, it leans back a little bit to what we heard from people when Urban Meyer left Florida. He didn't leave because he was tired. If he was tired, he wouldn't have taken another job at Ohio State or another job at Jacksonville. He was trying to escape the mess that he had at Florida. Now, granted, he won those 2 national championships. Got to give him credit for that. And then he won a 3rd at Ohio State. But still, nobody wants to remember the fact that this guy had 31 players that were arrested during his tenure there. It was a Wild West program. They had a culture there of something called, I have to remember, the Circle of Trust is what they called it there, where Meyer had his own players. Everybody, it was just a certain group of players and seniors that were all part of his trust, and everybody else was on the side. And it was a toxic culture. People still love this guy because you brought us a national championship. The heck with the fact that you also happened to be here when Aaron Hernandez was here, and he was one of the guys who got arrested, and you allowed these guys to run wild. And guess what? Aaron Hernandez later become a killer. And so it just comes down to all this. It's this.
It was alleged that he also shot.
It's this need to honor these guys. It catches me.
Yeah. He was alleged to have shot someone in the face at Florida too at some point. Aaron Hernandez and Urban Meyer. People forget he left Ohio State under a cloud of controversy, including the fact that he supported and kept a clear domestic abuser on his staff that beat up his wife, and all of this came out later.
Well, and there was always the story about the Zach Smith. I mean, he is the one who basically had these sexual abuse texts and these sexual abuse issues. And you're right. Meyer just looked the other way. He basically said, well, okay, gee, we got to. Oh, and by the way, there was another one at the University of Florida. I wrote this down. He had a wide receiver named Chris Rainey who was textually threatening his girlfriend. And when Meyer was confronted with it, he said, well, we got to take care of those things. It's one of those tough things that we got to learn from. You had a guy who's threatening his girlfriend in text, physical violence, and you just let it go. This guy didn't give a crap about anything that happened off the field. As long as I win, I win. And that's the problem, Mike. Even the fans say that. As long as you win, I don't care if somebody's out there shooting somebody in the face. I don't care if they're out doing drugs. I don't care if they're out beating up their girlfriend. Just win. And that is still pervasive, Mike.
Well, what the honoring of Urban Meyer in Jacksonville is essentially about a group of fans, a fan base who, for all intents and purposes, their religion is on Saturdays. Inside that stadium, and the memories are, as they say in Field of Dreams, the memories are so thick you can brush them away. You need a paintbrush to brush them away. It's all about nostalgia and going back to what how his teams made them feel. And yeah, he is a great football coach, but he's a lousy human being, and And what do you have to do? And to be a great football coach, he had to be a lousy human being at time because he didn't care about the social, academic, or otherwise the welfare of his players.
There's not a
other than the fact
football...
that if they could play, they stayed. If they couldn't play, they were gone. It was very clear. So yeah, this is an amoral, awful human being.
It's a mindset here because back to one of the points you just made. There's not a major college football or basketball coach in this country that really gives a crap about the grades. They don't. If you're in a major program, you're not, and this is what the coaches will always say, I'm not hired to come in here and teach them to be good people. I'm here to teach them how to win games. Isn't that what it's? Shouldn't the two go hand in hand, or am I just being Pollyanna-ish?
I'm never surprised by any of this. Um, you know, I there's so much there that there's so much to unpack about what you turn away and are blind to versus what's right, what's wrong. I don't think you can find. I don't think you can, other than the qualities it takes to work hard and get a starting position. Other than it takes the camaraderie and belief to win games together. The other things, the other things with big time college sports, it's like you don't want to see how the sausage is made because it's ugly, and so it goes back to when I wrote about Joe Paterno and the honoring of him at Penn State after all the Sandusky thing, and it was all, and the school wouldn't put it on, but Sue Paterno wanted to because she wanted the memory of her husband. Well, guess what, Sue? I'm sorry. When your husband fails to protect children, he doesn't get to be a leader of men anymore. And so and so while I think that Joe Paterno did a lot of great things in life, and I'm sure Urban Meyer changed some lives and players that aren't even NFL players. They might be educators now, can look back and say, boy, he taught me some great lessons. When you do other things that are so morally reprehensible and wrong, it disqualifies you from the good part of being part of the human race. I don't know.
That's a
Nobody
great
from
statement
Florida
to
wants
make.
to hear that. Nobody from Florida wants to hear that, but that's the truth.
Well, that is the truth, and that's a great statement to make because, again, it comes down to people were saying, well, he deserves a second chance. Look what he did for us. He did all these things. He absolutely did help some people along the way. He won national championships. He brought us all great joy, and we all had great Saturday afternoons. But where do you draw the line? If somebody is that reprehensible outside of their coaching duties, do you still honor them? Do you still give them a party? Do you still make them a part of your Hall of Fame or whatever you will? Because still, every time, look, there's two classes of people. There's the ones who will think about Urban Meyer and they will say 2 national championships. Then there's the other side of people who will say Urban Meyer, 31 arrests by players. He basically was the guy who let Aaron Hernandez become a potential killer and a killer later on in life. A guy who looked past sexual abuse, a guy who looked past the possibility that a player was going to physically hurt his girlfriend. He looked past all these things. So where's the balance? Do you still honor a guy like that?
I think you're in the minority, and I'm in the minority on that.
I think so.
Because it's sad, but and you know what? I'm all about second chance. Retribution is retribution. I'm sorry, retribution. Claiming, whatever, claiming, owning your fault, owning your part in the dissolution of a relationship, and whether it's your employer or your romantic partner, whatever. I'm okay. The problem with a guy like Urban Meyer is he doesn't have enough self-awareness, or he's one of the guys that he could never come back and say this is what I did wrong.
I've never heard him apologize.
And I'm sorry that I did
responsibility.
this, and I'd like to make amends to some of the people I hurt. These people aren't about that. They're about erasing the part of the Wikipedia page, getting someone to do a time cleanser on their Wikipedia page, hiring someone to take out the bad stuff so people will only remember the good stuff.
Right.
That person does not get a second chance, in my opinion. And Urban Meyer shouldn't, but he's going to because he produced memories on a football field for a certain subset of people that, let's by and large, one of our good friends now works down there and works for them. And there are some wonderful people down there that do a great job. But honoring this guy, you have to swallow a lot and look past a lot. You have to be in complete denial to actually honor Urban Meyer at this point.
Exactly. That's my point. You have to completely deny all the bad stuff. And people will say, well, give him a second chance. He really did good for us. Well, I still have friends of mine in the Boston Police Department who will tell me that if Urban Meyer had clamped down on guys like Aaron Hernandez when he was at college, and if he had not allowed him to get away with all the various indiscretions he did, there's a good chance that they may have been able. And again, this is all guesswork at this point from investigators.
I'm not gonna.
They say had he clamped down on this guy, Aaron Hernandez might not have killed people later in life.
Nah, I don't believe that. I mean,
Okay.
I believe that Urban Meyer's permissive atmosphere of college players running amok contributed to some of that. But Aaron Hernandez's problems were so deep and layered, and he was so far gone even by the time he got to Florida. In some ways, if you read up, but either way, whatever. They get the guy. It was. I could say this: it was absolutely the wrong program Aaron Hernandez should have gone to try and learn about what he needed to learn in life to survive the things he had to deal with growing up.
Yeah, and nobody goes to college athletics anymore to learn life lessons. They go there to cash in a lot of money.
I did.
Well, but that was 150 years ago. That was a long time ago. You didn't have NIL.
I know.
You couldn't get all set up for it. All right.
Yeah, I'm the only person. My ears still hurt from the Big Bang, Ed.
That's all, folks.